Most people think wealth is about having more money. It is not. Wealth is about having more control. Control over your time, control over your choices, control over what happens when life gets expensive. I'm DaKing, and today I'm breaking down every level of wealth, from financial dependence to real financial freedom. Let's climb the ladder. Level 1. Financial dependence. This is where a person cannot fully cover basic expenses without help. That help might come from parents, family, government support, loans, credit cards, or paychecks that are already spent before they even arrive. And let's be clear, this level is not about shame. Everybody starts dependent. Nobody is born with an emergency fund, a retirement account, and a calm conversation with their accountant. At this level, money does not feel like a tool. It feels like permission. Permission to eat, permission to move, permission to breathe without another bill tapping you on the shoulder. The goal here is simple. Stop the hole from getting deeper. Before investing, before financial freedom, before building wealth, the first mission is survival. Income has to start catching up with expenses because you cannot build a castle while the floor is still collapsing. This is where many people feel trapped, not because they are lazy, not because they are hopeless, but because every dollar already has a job before it arrives. Rent is waiting, food is waiting, transportation is waiting, debt is waiting, the phone bill is standing in the corner like a villain with excellent timing. And when your money is already claimed, you do not feel in control, you feel chased. So the first move is not glamorous, it is awareness. Know what comes in, know what goes out, know what is urgent, know what is slowly draining you. Because the moment you can see the pattern, you can begin to change the pattern. Financial dependence is the bottom of the ladder, but it is not the end of the story. It is the place where the climb begins. Level 2. Financial solvency. This is where your income can finally cover your current bills without constant outside help. You may still have debt. You may still feel pressure. You may still check your account before buying lunch like it owes you an explanation, but you are no longer borrowing just to survive. That matters. This is the first real step toward financial control. The ship may still be in rough water, but at least it is no longer actively sinking. At this level, your money starts showing up for the basics. Rent gets paid, food gets covered, transportation is handled, the lights stay on, the phone bill does not turn into a horror movie. Life is not perfect, but it is less dangerous, and less dangerous is progress. The danger here is celebrating too early. A better paycheck arrives, and suddenly the lifestyle wants a promotion too. New phone, new clothes, new subscriptions, new "I deserve this" era. And yes, you may deserve nice things, but your future self also deserves breathing room. Level 2 is not the finish line. It is the first stable step. This is where discipline matters, because when you finally stop drowning, it's tempting to start splashing. You want to enjoy yourself. You want to prove you're doing better. You want something nice after all the stress. That's human. But the goal is not to escape one paycheck to paycheck cycle just to decorate another one. The goal is to create margin, even a small margin, because margin is where financial strength begins. If you earn 100 and spend 110, you're going backward. If you earn 100 and spend 100, you're standing still. But if you earn 100 and spend 95, now you have space. And that space is where the next level begins. Level 3. Financial stability. This is where you start building a cushion, an emergency fund, a cash buffer, a little financial armor for when life decides to act brand new. Because life is undefeated. Cars break, jobs change, prices rise, medical bills appear, random expenses pop up like they were invited. And emergencies do not care that you are planning to start saving next month. At this level, a surprise bill is annoying, but it is not the end of the world. A car repair hurts, but it does not destroy your whole month. A random expense shows up, and instead of panic, you have a plan. That is what stability does. It doesn't make life perfect, it makes life less fragile.
Cash may not look exciting. It doesn't sparkle, it doesn't flex, it won't impress anyone at dinner. But when trouble shows up, boring money becomes beautiful. An emergency fund is not there to make you rich. It's there to stop life from making you poorer. That's a different kind of power. Because when you have no cushion, every problem becomes expensive. You pay late fees, you use credit cards, you borrow under pressure. You make fast decisions because slow decisions feel impossible. But a cushion gives you time, and time gives you better choices. That's why financial stability matters. It creates a wall between you and chaos. Not a giant wall at first. Maybe it starts as a small fence, but even a small fence is better than standing in an open field while life throws rocks. Level 4. Breathing room. This is where financial stress starts loosening its grip. Bills still exist, but they no longer feel like personal attacks. You can plan ahead. You can save more consistently. You may start investing. You may begin reducing high-interest debt. And for the first time in a long time, money starts feeling less like a cage and more like a tool. This is a powerful level because breathing room changes how you think. When you are always behind, you only think about survival. What is due today? What can wait? What happens if this payment bounces? But when you have breathing room, your brain gets space to look forward. You can think about next month, next year, the next skill, the next opportunity, the next step. But this level has a trap, and the trap is smooth. Once people finally get a little breathing room, they often try to look wealthy before they actually become wealthy. The car gets upgraded, the apartment gets upgraded, the vacations get upgraded, the wardrobe gets upgraded. Everything gets upgraded except the balance sheet. That is lifestyle creep. It's when your income rises, but your spending rises right alongside it. So instead of building wealth, you're just giving your old problems better clothes. A raise should not only make your life louder, it should make your foundation stronger. Because if every income increase becomes a spending increase, you're not climbing, you're decorating the same floor. And that's how people get trapped while earning more. From the outside, they look successful. Better car, better apartment, better dinners, better pictures. But behind the scenes, the pressure is still there. The income changed, the stress stayed. That is not wealth. That's a more expensive version of the same problem. Level 5. Financial flexibility. This is where money starts giving you options. Maybe you can leave a toxic job. Maybe you can move to a better city. Maybe you can take time to learn a valuable skill. Maybe you can start a small business. Maybe you can help family without financially injuring yourself. This is a major shift, because when you have no financial flexibility, every decision feels forced. You stay where you are because you cannot afford to leave. You accept bad deals because you cannot afford to wait. You say yes to things your future self would have rejected. You take the first option because you cannot survive long enough to find the best option. That is what financial pressure does. It shrinks your choices. But flexibility gives those choices back. You have space. You have a runway. You have room to think. And sometimes space is the first form of freedom. Financial flexibility is not always glamorous. It might not look impressive online. Nobody posts a picture saying, "Just built a 6-month runway and lowered my monthly obligations," even though that might be more powerful than half the luxury photos on the internet. Because flexibility is quiet, but it changes everything. It gives you the ability to pause, to negotiate, to walk away, to wait for a better deal, to make a decision from strength instead of panic. And that is one of the clearest signs that money is starting to work for you. Level 6. Asset Builder. This is where the game changes. At the lower levels, money is mostly used to survive, pay bills, and reduce stress. But here, money starts being deployed. You are not only asking, "How do I earn more?" You start asking, "What do I own?" That question matters because income can disappear. A job can end, a business can slow down, a client can leave. An industry can change, but assets are how people begin building financial strength beyond their next paycheck. Stocks, index funds, retirement accounts, real estate, business equity, intellectual property, skills that increase your earning power, assets that may grow, produce income, or hold long-term value. Now, not every asset is right for every person, and no investment is guaranteed. Markets can fall, businesses can fail, real estate can come with repairs, taxes, vacancies, and headaches that do not fit neatly into a motivational quote. But the principle is simple. At the lower levels, money is consumed. At the higher levels, money is put to work. Income is the water coming through the pipe. Wealth is the reservoir you build. This is why two people can earn the same income and end up in completely different places. One spends everything to look successful. The other quietly builds ownership. One buys attention, the other buys control. And over time, control usually wins. Level 7. Financial independence. This is where work becomes optional. Not because you never work again. Not because you disappear to a beach forever holding a coconut and pretending emails do not exist, but because your assets may be strong enough to support your lifestyle without depending completely on a paycheck. Investment income, business ownership, real estate income, retirement assets, other resources that help cover expenses. At this level, money and time begin to separate. At the lower levels, time is constantly traded for money. You work, you get paid. You stop working, the money stops. But financial independence changes that relationship. Money starts protecting time. And that is the real luxury. Not just buying nicer things, owning more of your life. Because the deepest kind of wealth is not always visible. It is waking up without every decision being controlled by income. It is choosing work because it has meaning, not because panic is standing behind you with a clipboard. It is having enough financial strength to say, I do not have to accept every bad deal. That is freedom. But let's keep it real. Financial independence is not magic. It does not mean zero risk. Markets can drop, expenses can rise. Healthcare can surprise people. Inflation can quietly eat purchasing power like a tiny mouse with a luxury appetite. So this level requires planning, patience, and discipline. Financial independence is not, I never think about money again. It is, money no longer controls every hour of my life. Level 8. Financial abundance. This is where wealth exceeds lifestyle needs. The conversation changes. It is no longer only about earning, saving, and investing. Now it becomes about preserving, protecting, structuring, and passing value forward. Estate planning, tax strategy, philanthropy, business succession, family education, long-term ownership. At this level, wealth becomes stewardship. It is not just about comfort. It becomes about impact, influence, protection, legacy. The question is no longer, can I afford the table? The question becomes, who owns the building the table is inside? That is the difference. Abundance is not just having more than enough. It is knowing what the more is for. Because money without direction can still become chaos. Bigger numbers do not automatically create wisdom. They just make the consequences larger. At this level, the focus shifts from accumulation to responsibility. How do you protect what has been built? How do you help without creating dependence? How do you teach the next generation to manage value, not just inherit it? How do you use wealth without letting wealth use you? That is the top of the ladder. Not just luxury, stewardship. Not just spending, structure. Not just success, legacy. So, now the question is simple. Where are you on the ladder? Not the level you post online, the real one. Are you surviving? Getting stable? Building breathing room? Gaining options? Owning assets?
buying back your time, or building something that can outlive you? Be honest, because the first step to moving up is knowing where you stand. And do not be embarrassed by your level. Learn from it. Wealth is not built by pretending, it is built by positioning. One better decision, one stronger system, one asset at a time. Because money changes roles as you climb. First, it helps you survive. Then it helps you breathe. Then it gives you choices. Then it buys back your time. And eventually, it becomes legacy.
So drop your level in the comments.
1 through 8. No shame, no pretending, just honesty. I'm Leo DaKing, and this is Capital Creatures. Subscribe, stay sharp, and keep climbing.